we actually started dialoguing before about the question of, the space between Rashi's reading of the Song of Songs, where God is the man and Israel is the woman.
Right.
And the Zohar is that both sides are God.
Right.
And then you raised the question of the sort of the dangerous male aspect of God in this piece.
Yeah, it's definitely the part of the piece that what is most striking to me is that I think it's an issue whether it's God or God Israel, but this question that there has to be part of the relationship that's based on this fear of the physical strike.
Right. It's true. Although the way I would read the physical strike, the danger of the left arm, which is interesting because paradoxically that's also the Shekhinah in a way. In other words, because the left arm is the female side.
Right.
So there's a certain paradox.
It's the weaker side that's coming at you.
Say it again?
It's the weaker side, which is interesting.
The weaker side, which strikes you down, yeah.
Right.
Well, I guess because it's also Deen. So Deen is a paradoxical concept. It's negation, but it's the limitation and negation, which is also death.
Right.
Right. Facing the limit. But it's also interesting that, in other words, the one way to read the fear or the danger here is it's not that she's in danger, but that the forces of evil in the world that are holding her down, which of course is also a problematic gender role, but that the forces of evil that are holding her down, I think those are the ones that are supposed to be in fear on Rosh Hashanah, in terms of the way I read this piece. But then when I saw how you were reading it, it's also true that we're supposed to be afraid on Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah, right. And there's simultaneously something really effective about that, about saying you should actually be afraid. And you're not going to get as much out of the high holiday season if you don't really have that fear.
Right. If you don't take the strike seriously.
Right.
The danger of it, right. So I guess the implication, if I put those two things together, which I hadn't really thought of, is that, in a sense, it's the forces of evil which have to fear God on Rosh Hashanah, and what's not clear is where we are in that picture. Maybe we ourselves are playing the role of those who are holding the Shekhinah down, and so we should be afraid.
Right. Well, I think it's an interesting image to me when you take Israel out of it and say that they're both sides are God, because then you can have this whole holiday experience as something that's happening with God, and we're witnessing it, which is a totally different way of thinking about the holidays than I'm used to hearing, where it's really between me and God, to say this is God, that the good side battling the dark side and trying to work through that, and here I'm bearing witness to it. Right.
Although I think that's true, but what also complicates it is that, in other words, in a sense, both Israel and God, or both Israel and the Holy One, are both part of God, in the sentence you just said. From another sense, though, we're parallel to both parts of God.
Right.
In other words, because we have in ourselves that same male and female side. In fact, the idea of Adam in the Zohar, a human being, is both male and female, giving and receiving.
Right. That's
so
awesome.
You really have a four-way option. In other words, you're witnessing something happening in God. Both sides are God in you, fighting it out in some sense.
Right.
And we can be Israel and God can be the Holy One, and we can be the Holy One and God can be Israel.
Right. That's great, actually. When it's both us, that's also really powerful to say the fear should be there within you on Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah. On Rosh Hashanah, if you aren't really worried that your left side might take over, then you're missing something also.
That's also interesting, Sasha. You're saying like that the danger of the left side is not just being punished, but it's also that which is further left, which is the evil, right?
Yeah.
The line between Yitzchak and Esav.
Right. And pull yourself back a little bit on Rosh Hashanah or you'll end up too far over.
That's an interesting interpretation of what the danger is. I hadn't thought of that either. In other words, the danger. In other words, if I want to read both sides as part of myself, the danger of being struck by the left side is being taken over, in a sense, by the Sitra Achra, by the other side, by the dark side. He who must not be named. Right.
Right.
Are you into Harry Potter?
Very cool. I still always come back to the binary thing, which is going to be troublesome to me. But it's It's helpful nonetheless.
I mean, I agree that the binary thing is problematic. I guess I identify with it from the perspective that it's relative. In other words, it's right and left. So it's never absolute. In anywhere I look, I'll see right and left. If I turn my head so that your image on the computer is to my right, and then I turn the other way, there's still a right and left, but now you're on the left.
That's great. I've never thought about it that way.
So in that way, it's like I don't feel. Well, I guess I feel the same way about male and female, though. In other words, I don't think the male and female of the Zohar are men and women.
Right.
Because men and women are both composed of male and female.
Right.
So then what do you do with an image that describes the Holy One with a beard and the Shekhinah as a woman? So I would actually push it that far. I would say that even though she's a woman, she's not a woman. She's an aspect of myself. You know what I mean? I actually would sort of divide it up like Zachar and Nekeva in the Zohar. I would say Zachar is different than men, and Nekeva is different than women. So the maleness and femaleness in the Zohar are essentialist qualities of flowing forth and receiving, which are always happening in unison all the time. They're never really distinct. They're like form and matter.
Right.
So I can be a man male or a man that's female, or both at the same time, which is really what's happening. And a woman is both male and female.
Right, left. You can't have a right without a left.
Say it again?
Just like you can't have a right without a left.
Right. So it's binary, but always from this, they're really four genders, and they're really all present all the time in any real relationship.
Right. It's a spectrum.
Right. That's a spectrum. Right. But part of the reason I may read it that way is in response to the criticism that you're making. I'm not sure. In other words, I think the historical meaning is probably complex, and certainly doesn't limit itself to the kind of reading that you and I are comfortable with.
Although in the Zohar, I feel like it's more likely than, twisting Rashi to say it's a spectrum. I think we were really twisting. The Zohar might really be intended to be that.
Right.
So,
well, I mean, like, just the mother
feels
is
safer.
You feel safer, yeah. Also, because even like you take the mother in the Zohar, who's the mother, yet plays a totally male role as providing of sustenance. So in some sense, the ultimate image of maleness is the mother, which is certainly counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And awesome.
From
a girl named Avi.
From a girl named Avi. That's right. So I was teaching a class this summer, and someone came in. A woman pastor came in, and they introduced her as Father Will.
Wow.
She's Will because I think it's Wilma. I forget. And it's Father because she said, like some women choose to be called Rav as opposed to Rabbah.
Right.
So she said, if God is the Father and priests are Father, well, I'm a priest.
Yeah. Wow.
So, but it does one of those, like double takes. This is Father Will, and you look over, and it's a woman.
That's fascinating. I've never.
Yeah, it was interesting. And the subject of the class was also this image of Adam, which is male and female. So it was appropriate.
It was perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.